Hello and welcome to episode 284 of the Paint All the Minis podcast, the show where you can listen to the widest range of guests that I can convince to chat to me about the tabletop gaming hobby. This week I talked to Mike about his personal journey with Warhammer 40k, both the lore and competitive play, along with really getting involved in painting, which is something that he does right now in terms of being a commission painter. We have the typical rambly chat about some of his experiences over the years. Really important to underline and put in italics some, as we're finding in our episodes. It's impossible to talk to him about all the things that he loves about Warhammer 40k in 1 hour conversation. So we talk about some of the things that have really jumped out to him as experiences over the years. It was really fun to talk to him about his competitive experience. We talk about that quite a lot in the show, and also we talk about Warhammer 40k lore, which is really good, isn't it? Like the depth of the lore and the effort that's been made to kind of flesh out that whole universe. It's the best universes are ones that you believe genuinely actually exist. If you think about Game of Thrones, if you think about Lord of the Rings, you know, that you believe those things kind of exist. I do kind of believe that those things exist. Obviously, I know that they don't, but it's that fleshed out that you really genuinely think that it could be a real living thing. So it was amazing to talk to Mike. Thank you, Mike, for coming onto the show. It was a real pleasure to get to know you. It was another one of those great conversations that simply would not have happened without the modern world. You know, I don't know Mike, never really been to the part of the world that he lives, so just the fact that you can bump into someone and meet somebody who you wouldn't otherwise, and he's part of the Discord group as well. So if you want to hang out with Mike and also like-minded, chilled out hobby people, then you can click on the link to the Discord server in the description. If you want to talk about something that you love, feel free to join the Discord, or you can email me paintalltheminis@gmail.com, and I'd gladly set that up. We've got a few more Why I Love podcasts coming up over the next few weeks, along with talking to Mr. Joe McCulloch of Frostgrave and Stargrave and lots of other games now. He's coming up on the show in a couple of weeks. So if you've got a question for him or anything that you think might be important to know going into that conversation, then please let me know. I think that's enough of the pre-ramble. Let's go.
Paint all the minis. Paint all the minis that you can. And when you paint your minis, listen to that podcast with Dan Adams, that is.
I know what you're thinking. Did he paint 6 armies or only 5? Well, to tell you the truth, in all this excitement, I've kind of lost track myself. But being that this is Paint All the Minis, the best place for painting and hobby on the internet, and people aren't going to bite your head clean off for posting, you got to ask yourself one question. Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
So hey, I am here with Mike. How's it going, Mike?
Going well. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing all right. Just starting a weekend. Saturday morning for me, but it's Friday night.
Oh, that's right.
Where you are?
Yeah, it's Friday night for me.
So what does your typical weekend usually look like? If you had a typical weekend, what sort of stuff would you be doing?
Typical weekend for me, usually going to be hanging out with my wife and daughter. Sometimes we'll go to the range. Sometimes we'll go hit some yard sales, things like that. Just run around, shopping, take care of all the household chores that we don't get done during the week when we're working, stuff like that.
Nice. Talk to us about...
Every once in a while, I'll get some gaming.
Yeah, talk to us a little bit about yard sales. Do you ever find anything really cool at a yard sale that's like a really great find?
Yeah. It's crazy. Like over here, I know it's cheap is a bad word that I've heard for over on your side, but over here you hit some yard sales and you find some like stuff that's crazy underpriced. I think the best thing we ever found is I found a vintage fireplace set, with the shovel and the poker and everything.
Yeah.
And then we found out it was made by some special designer and it was worth like $2,000 and I paid $10 for it.
Nice. So what did you do?
And,
what did you sell it?
I sold it. I bought a $50 fireplace set at Home Depot after I sold it.
Well, you wanted it in the end.
Yeah, that was all I needed. But I was like, I'm not going to use this one. It's too nice. But My daughter bought an accordion a couple weeks ago for $20.
Nice.
So every once in a while you find some real stuff, like old video game, like retro game stuff. I'm always looking for that. Sometimes you find, Warhammer or board games. I found Hero Quest at garage sales before for $2 or $3. Just little stuff like that.
Yeah. The English equivalent is called a car boot sale or a car trunk sale.
Okay.
So you find like an old farmer's field and the farmer's not using it at that sort of time, and you kind of show up with your car and like you open your trunk, and then it's like a whole kind of flea market kind of opens up just out the back of people's car trunks. That's usually pretty cool. So yeah, if you're ever in England,
that would be
check that.
Yeah, that'd be really fun.
Yeah.
We have to do a lot of driving for ours.
Yeah, exactly right. So in America, with much bigger houses and much nicer houses, I would say, and kind of more space, it tends to be like a yard sale, or one individual house calls like a yard sale. Maybe sometimes like a cul-de-sac or a small street call like a kind of street sale. But generally speaking, it tends to be like one house, right, that calls a yard sale.
Usually, there's actually this weekend. There's a town about 20 miles south of us, and they're doing a citywide yard sale.
Dude.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm not going. I was like, no, I don't need any stuff. We're good. But
so
I'm tempted
cool.
still.
That's cool, man. So you sound like you're kind of from the kind of Texas area, right? Is that where you're from?
I'm from Oklahoma. We're just north of Texas.
Okay. Close.
So it's kind of like Texas, but the people are a little bit nicer and they carry less guts.
You say guts or guns?
Guns.
Carry less gut. Yeah, that's cool, man. So what would you say about, because Oklahoma is, the biggest thing that I know about Oklahoma is the stage show, right? But I'm not even sure if that's even about Oklahoma. So
it is. Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about your state and maybe why you like it.
So Oklahoma, it's kind of a moderate weather state for the most part. During the summer, we'll sit between the 80s and 90s Fahrenheit. Every once in a while, every couple of years, we'll have like several 100-degree days in a row. During the winter, it's usually stays around 30 to 50, and then we'll have some dips where it gets down into negative temperatures. We do have tornadoes. We just had a tornado an hour north of us that took out part of a small town, which those aren't fun. Do you guys have tornadoes?
No, England is the most mild-weathered place in the world. Worst we get is heavy rain. But I did. I did live in Louisiana for 4 years, and so I have experienced the weirdness of tornadoes and hurricanes.
Yeah, so they have hurricanes down there.
So how do you prep for that? What would be if like a tornado is called? Like, what's your usual kind of?
So when the sirens go off in Oklahoma, you go to your shelter area. Some people have in-ground shelters, some of them have above ground. My house, we go into a closet that's kind of in the corner of the house. And we have a brick house, so it's a pretty safe area. And like the family goes there and all the pets and everything. And then I'll go out and stand in the front yard and watch and see if there's actually a tornado coming.
Okay.
Because if you've lived in Oklahoma long enough, you don't really worry about them so much. Like you watch them, and then if you can see one, you got about 10 minutes to go where you need to go.
Yeah, that was the weird thing in Louisiana. The first time that like a hurricane was called, or a tornado was called, sorry, I was like flapping and panicking. Like we went in the tub, bathroom, and it's like, oh, this is gonna be okay. And then like after it, I spoke to my colleagues, and I was like, oh, hey, that tornado, like what's the deal? Like, are you okay? And they're like, yeah, it was fine. And I was like, you seem pretty casual about this. Like, what's the deal? And then later, as we got to like second and third one, people would just carry on the day pretty much. Like there was one time we were just out for lunch, and it just becomes it becomes, you don't say you become blasé about it, but you start to realize when it's going to actually be close and when you're really in danger. And there's certain things that you don't do, but generally speaking, you just try and carry on as best you can, right?
Exactly. Like Oklahoma is just part of life, so you kind of just deal with it when it comes. Like last night when I was at the tattoo shop getting my tattoo, and a tornado watch came up on all our phones. And the guy's like, do we need to take a break? I was like, where's it at? And he's like, it says it's like 20 miles north of us. I was like, yeah, just keep going. We'll, if it gets closer, we'll worry about it, you know?
But it's amazing. It's amazing, and it's obviously terrible. And if your property or people's lives are at risk, that's really, really bad. But coming from England, we don't really have these extreme weather events, really, and so it's just interesting to experience the power of nature and things.
Oh yeah,
it's pretty cool to
yeah, they're pretty crazy. I've been through a couple serious. I actually was within a mile of the largest tornado that ever happened to the United States. Okay. And it was 3/4 of a mile wide at the ground.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
and afterwards we all loaded up in cars and went to the area they designated as the help thing, and we went and we were helping like pull people out of the rubble and stuff like that. Like it's pretty crazy, but
yeah, it is. It just shows you how the planet is just truly powerful. It's one of them things that you really see. You kind of think as human beings, we know, we got it, we're in control of things. And it's like, no, we don't at all.
No, we don't
at all.
If the Earth was mad, it'd shake us off like fleas.
Exactly right. I think there was one thing I was watching a while ago where it's talking about maybe some of the arrogance that we have towards like protecting the planet, and then this guy was just saying, the planet survived for millions and millions of years, and the planet will survive you. So don't be arrogant and think that you can protect the planet. It's like the planet will forget about us in a second. We're just a blink of an eye to this planet, So
cool. That's 100%.
Anyway, let's start getting onto hobby stuff then. So if we were to kind of come around to your house right now and keep half an eye on the tornado watches, what would we see in your hobby desk? What would we see in your hobby collection? And if you are playing anything at the moment, what is it that you're playing?
So in my personal collection, you'd see like I'm lucky enough that I have a whole room in my house that is my studio for hobby. Mm-hmm. And I've got lots of desk space. So in my personal collection, you see a lot of Imperial Knight stuff, Chaos Knight stuff. I mainly play big robots. If I go play, I like getting my game done in an hour and then going and joking around with everybody. Yeah. So win or lose, nights are usually done in about an hour. And then you see all the other projects that I'm working on for other people. I've got a giant perfect grade Gundam kit for a guy in Minnesota. I've got a huge Ultramarines army for a local person. I've got just all kinds of stuff all over. You'd see all my Incredible Hulk stuff that I have up on the wall, because Incredible Hulk's always been my favorite Marvel person. I actually met Lou Ferrigno and got a picture with him and got his signature and all that stuff.
Nice.
Because, he's the only guy that's ever been the Hulk. All the other ones have been CG.
This is true. I remember watching Incredible Hulk as a kid and just being amazed by his pants. It's like everything else tears and his pants are still intact.
Yeah, the pants stay. Gotta keep it PG for TV.
That's cool, man. So you mentioned that you paint for other people. How do you find that experience of painting stuff and then sending it away?
For me, I really love it. When I first started the hobby, I was very much into the tournament, so I was getting my armies just tabletop ready and going and playing. And then I got, less time to play and more time to paint. Mm-hmm. So I started working as I still want to go to some tournaments, but I want to, still have a chance of winning some. So let's see if I can win some best painted awards at some of these big tournaments. Mm-hmm. And so I moved to that, and then people started seeing what I was doing and asking me to paint their stuff. And I'm like, hey, I can kind of make a go of this. And it's cool because I get to paint tons of models that I would never purchase for myself.
Yeah.
All these cool models they're coming out with. Like, I don't want a Sisters of Battle army, but I've painted every model there is in Sisters of Battle. Yeah. It's just one of those cool things. I get to paint all these other models, and then I don't have to buy them. Like, people are paying me to let me enjoy painting their stuff.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Commission painting and kind of painting for other people is something that a lot of people think of and a lot of people potentially dabble with. So would you give one piece of advice and one cautionary word of advice, like one little bit of encouragement of why you should try it, and then maybe something cautionary, like maybe why it maybe won't be for you from your experience? So my biggest piece of advice is put in the practice and take the time to get to a solid, clean level of painting. A lot of people try doing it too soon. They're like, hey, I painted 5 D&D heroes and
now my friends all want me to paint, so I'm a commissioned painter. And it's like, that's awesome. Because like if people are asking you to paint, they obviously think you can paint better than them. So that's great. But if you've only painted 5 miniatures, you're probably not ready to be a commissioned painter, on the side. And then my biggest word of caution, pay attention to how much time it takes you to paint individual models. Because over here, when I quote, and a lot of the other guys I know, when we quote stuff, we quote it by the hour.
Right.
And like, if I give you a number, that's the number. Whether I paint it under that amount of time or go over that amount of time, I'm not going to charge you more.
Yeah.
And that's bit me a couple times. I had one project I quoted 200 hours and it took me 430.
Dude.
So, that project, it worked for $5 an hour, but it happens. So
that's part of the experience, right? Again, I had another conversation with someone a while ago, and they talked about how a plumber came around to the house, and then they said the plumber came around, and he was only here 20 minutes, and he said he came and he fitted this thing, and then he left, and he was like, and I had to pay X amount of dollars. And he was like saying it's extortionate. I was like, mate, but you're not just paying for the guy's time necessarily. You're paying for the expertise. So if he's quoting a certain amount, even if it only takes him less, because that's what he said. He said, this guy's working at a crazy amount of dollars per hour. And it's like, well, he is and he isn't. It's like he kind of has got that experience to quickly identify what the problem is, and then he's got the parts and the skills and the tools to fix it very efficiently. So you're not paying You're paying for the expertise, and you're paying for the experience. You're not necessarily just paying for the minute by minute. So I guess that takes time to figure out how long it's going to take you to paint stuff, right? I guess you win some, you lose some, right?
Exactly. Sometimes you do really good on your time. Sometimes you don't. My favorite saying is it takes 10,000 hours to become a master of a craft. I'm not at my 10,000 hours yet. Like I'm getting there. I'm decent, but I think I added the math up since I started painting seriously, and I'm only at around like 7,200 hours of miniature painting.
Good, man. That's a lot of time though, hey? That's a lot of hours. That's cool, man. Awesome. Yeah. Really, really cool. So you mentioned that when you first started playing, you were more of like a tournament player. So I'm guessing that's the GW ecosystem, right?
Yes. Yeah. I started with Warhammer 40. Well, I don't know if we want to talk about other games, but my second competitive game that I started playing seriously was Warhammer 40K in 4th edition. Okay.
So before we kind of go on to the 40K specifically, have you ever played or been interested in games within GW, like Necromunda maybe, or something like this? Or is there any other kind of game companies that you've, especially with commission paying, you probably see models from different companies, different games, right? Have you ever been excited?
Yeah, I do.
Have you ever been excited by other games and maybe potentially get involved in those?
I have been excited by a lot of other games. When I started 40K, it was actually the first miniatures game I ever played.
Okay.
Where you like build your own models. Before that, I played Mage Knight. That was a old game from the early 2000s. I don't know. Maybe some people have heard of it. Maybe some haven't. Yeah. But it was one of the Clicks games, and they came pre-painted and everything. And it had a very competitive scene here in the States. Mm-hmm. But then it died. I was without a game for a while. Magic. Everybody plays Magic here and there.
Yeah.
And then I found 40K at a store, and I was like, oh, man, this looks cool. Like, I get to build, I get to paint, I get to play, like, this very competitive scene. So that's what kind of drew me in. I've played some of the other, like, I played a little War Machine Hordes. I tried, old fantasy, rank and flank fantasy. Mm. I played Necromunda, like, a couple games. Mm. And then, what is the game? The Shadespire game, that was a lot of fun, but that's a little bit newer.
Yeah. The Shadespire game is really cool. I really enjoyed that. It went a little bit crazy with like the releases and the extra cards and all that kind of stuff.
It did. They flooded it a little bit.
Yeah, but it's a pretty cool game, pretty cool idea. It's like a, really tight rule set and really quick game.
It is.
So it's really cool. It's best of both. It's like kind of card game, but also you get to paint and play with the miniatures too. It's kind of cool, right?
Oh yeah. It's great. Like I love it because I got a buddy that when it came out, we bought all 4 armies and I built and painted them all up, and we would get together and in 3 hours we could play three games and have a couple of pints and just have a good time. Like we'd take it to a bar or a game store or wherever and just play on the table there.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Right, let's get on to 40K then. So obviously you're here to talk about all the reasons why you love just earlier editions of 40K. So you mentioned just there that it was 4th edition that you first started getting into. So talk to us about how, in a little bit more detail, how you first became aware of it. What did you think when you first saw it, and if you can remember what you first bought and why?
Oh, I 100% remember all that. So for me, my first thing is I saw a shop. I just moved to a different part of Oklahoma, and I was driving by, and I saw this game store back in like a shopping center. And I was like, oh, cool, I love game stores. So I stopped in, and everything they had was Warhammer. Okay. And they had these beautiful tables, some of the nicest tables I've ever seen, even to this day. And this was 20 plus years ago. And they're playing 40K, and I'm like, man, this looks super cool. And the Battle for Macragge starter box was, I want to say, like $60.
That's nice.
And it was Tyranids and Space Marines. Right? It was crazy. So I picked one up. I was like, this is cool. Like $60. It's kind of a, nothing price point to get into the game back then. So I picked it up and I was like, man, I like these Tyranids. So my first army was Tyranids. I built and painted a full 2,000 point Tyranid army probably within about a month and a half, 2 months.
Dude, that's dedication.
Yeah, like I wanted to get in. Like these guys were playing. I got some demo games when I had some stuff built small. And then I was like, how many points are tournaments? They're like 1850. I'm like, cool, I'll paint 2,000 points and then I can shift stuff around here and there. And
yeah, so let's just talk about that for a second, because I've played a lot of 40K. I've played a lot of 40K in America, and I would say, generally speaking, from when I was playing, it's not an American thing, don't worry, I'm not trying to smear American people, but I said the majority of people that I played would play unpainted uncaringly. Right, so you would play unpainted and they don't care. It's like, man, I don't like painting. I'm just going to play.
It's still that way, sadly.
So, but you seem to be different to that, right? So, what made you cut a little bit different? Do you think? What made you say, I'm going to paint this real quick? Where did that come from?
I think at that point it was a lot of the RTTs required painted armies to play.
Okay.
Especially at the shop I was playing at, they had a little bit higher standard for their gaming. Okay. So if you wanted to play in an RTT, your army had to be fully painted. You couldn't even play with unpainted models. So I think that was the driving force for me back then with my Tyranids that were red with green carapace and sherbet orange blasters.
Christmas Tyranids.
Yeah, they were the Christmas Tyranids. That's what everybody called them. It was a lot of fun showing up, and but I did run. You quickly learn when you're playing competitive that you want to run the nastiest stuff. So I ran the old Nibzilla that was, the 3 elite Carnifex and 3 heavy Carnifex and 2 hive tyrants, and then a bunch of outflanking gene stealers with lictors and all the just the nastiest stuff you could run. So a lot of people didn't like me, but I won a lot of tournaments. So I mean, it was balanced.
That's cool. Yeah, I mean, when you're going into that competitive world, right? That you've got it's dog eat dog, right? There's no point showing up and being like, oh, hey, I'm just gonna show up with this list that's not really meta. Like, you have to do it. In order to survive and in order to have a decent time, you have to follow that, which is really interesting. It's always people that have different opinions about different styles of play, and some people swear by narrative, and some people swear by competitive, and it's just different. Like, competitive is not for me personally, but that's not that anyone else can't really enjoy that competitive scene. It's just about, I think it's great that it's so diverse. I think that there's all the different ways that people enjoy to play is amazing, and I think the key word there is play. If it just brings more people to play, more people to enjoy, more people to engage. So what was it about the Tyranids that you liked then? What was it that drew you to them?
I just thought the models were so much cooler than the Space Marines. Like, they were these very diverse, organic, lizard, bug, alien type of race. They had the Carnifex, that first plastic kit Carnifex is probably one of my favorite model kits that's ever come out. It was so diverse in the way you could build it and all the different stuff you could put on it. And if you knew a little bit about green stuff and sculpting, you could do some really cool conversions with them to make them standing more upright, or have all the guns mounted on their carapace instead of their arms. There was just such a neat army. And back then, when I looked at Marines, it was like, okay, cool. They have these boxes with guns that are tanks, and then there's just, dudes with bolters and dudes with swords. And it's gotten a lot different now. Like, there's so much variety with everything. But back then, the models there wasn't a lot of variety like there is now.
Yeah, that's cool, man. It's always really good, because, Space Marines and Ultramarines, obviously, are the poster boys, right? So it's always great when you bump into somebody who, like, just goes, nah, I really like, really like these Tyranids. These are the ones for me. It's really, really cool. I always really enjoy listening to people a little bit more who like the different factions or other factions.
Oh, I loved them. They could do so many cool things. I mean, just the fact that you could take a heavy and keep it under certain points and run it as an elite. That was so cool. And then all their big guns were templates, so it was completely random if you hit, but you still brought them because the guns were so good. It was really a lot of fun. The outflanking with the gene stealers, like, that was such a fun tactic to use because it was still random. It was 66% that they went where you wanted them to. There was still that off chance that they might go in the wrong place.
Yeah. So it seems like the competitive element was a key component to drive you to play the game. Would you say that's correct? So.
Oh yeah. Definitely. When I started.
Yeah. So before we move on to kind of other aspects of the hobby that you grew to like, the lore and things like that, how did you find playing competitively? Did it satiate that need to go and do it? Was it disappointing in some way? What was your experience of playing competitively?
No, it really did. Like, playing competitive, I've met people, like, the biggest thing to me was that, like, even in competitive circles where everybody's there to just beat the snot out of everybody, there's still, like, that fellowship, that brotherhood of Warhammer players. And I've met the best friends I've ever had in my life. Like, I don't talk to but maybe one person I went to from high school, but I keep in touch with 20 or 30 different Warhammer guys I've met at tournaments that I probably haven't even seen in 15 years.
Yeah, that's cool, man. That's really
it was just, that competitive thing. And, when somebody beats you down, as long as they're not a tool about it, like, they'll be your friend forever.
That's cool. That's awesome. So talk us through a day, a competitive day. Talk to us about from wake up to kind of setup and breakdown. Like, are you playing single day tournaments? Are you playing multi-day tournaments? Talk us through like what a day would be like.
Okay. So back then, 4th, 5th edition, up through 6th, if it was a tournament day, RTTs, they were all 1 day, 3 games. You'd get up about 6 in the morning, double check, make sure you got all your stuff, fill up a water jug, get everything loaded, get to the store because check-in was usually by 8:30, 9 a.m. And then you start rolling dice 9:30, 10 a.m. most days. It was 2.5 hour rounds, I want to say, when I first started. They've expanded that now. And I've played in some that were only 2 hour rounds when it was 1850. And then, you'd play your first game and then you go to lunch and then you play your next 2 and then they tally all the points and decide the winners. But, you'd hit lunch somewhere in there. But a lot of it was, you spend the night before and the early morning prepping, making sure you had everything, dice, rulers, army books, all your model, everything. Make sure there's nothing broke. I always took a little travel hobby kit with, glue and sanding paper and files and hobby knives and all that kind of stuff just in case. So yeah, I mean, if it was a 2 day, well, then you're usually traveling. The farthest tournament I think I went to was 8 hours away from me by car. And that's, you're getting there the night before, staying in a hotel for 2 nights, making sure you have everything before you leave because there's nothing you can do if you forget something. I guess run to a local shop and buy what you forgot and try to get it put together and painted in an evening. But
that's cool. It's really good, man. It's always really interesting hearing that, like you're saying, with the travel stuff. There was a period of time that I used to go and run a lot of 10K races, but I didn't used to race. I was used to do it for fun, really, like more of a recreational thing. And you kind of go to a different city, maybe once every couple of months, and you'd kind of like sleep over and they do a 10K race, then you'd hang out in the city for a little bit. So any hobby that you can have that maybe offers a little bit of potential travel, you can go and see somewhere a little bit different. You can go and meet people that are completely different. And like driving 8 hours Driving 8 hours to go to a tournament. That's dedication. So did you do that all kind of solo, or was it more kind of like guys from the store?
No, it was guys from the store. I've been a member of a couple different Warhammer clubs. The first one, we were the Oklahoma City Freebooters. Or I'm sorry, it was the Red River Booters, and our logo was a big catfish that spelled out the word Freebooters.
Nice.
It was really ridiculous, and we would travel to tournaments. 3 or 4 of us would load up and drive out. Most of them are within 3 or 4 hours of where we're all located here centrally in Oklahoma. But bigger tournaments, we'd still usually get at least one guy. Typically, it'd be 3 or 4 guys, all load up in an SUV, get our armies. You don't need a lot of clothes because convention halls are hot, so you take shorts and t-shirts for every day, and just kind of relax with it. There's some events, there's a lot of drinking going on. People will bring in custom things that they have that hold alcohol, or coolers that look like gaming bags and things like that.
Yeah, that's cool, man. That's really good. And so how do you look back at that phase? You obviously, do you still play tournaments or not? Did it fall by the wayside?
I do play occasionally now. I look back at that with a lot of nostalgia. It was a lot of fun. I feel that I might have made more friends. Like, I was very hardcore into winning the tournaments. So I'm sure there were some people whose feelings I hurt along the way. And I felt kind of bad about that now, but looking back, like, that's just the way it was. I was there to win. I wasn't there to make friends. And then, you do still make some friends. You start learning, like, hey, maybe I shouldn't be this way so much. Like, it's okay to humble brag a little bit, but not to, like, completely just try to make your opponent feel bad. In your face. In your face. Exactly. Like, oh, did you just paint that model? Cool, that's going to be the first one I kill.
But it's about reading the room, right? It's about reading the room.
Exactly.
I mean, I had this conversation. I was a big soccer guy, a lot younger, and I can't play soccer anymore because I can't not be competitive about it, and I don't want to be mean to my teammates, and I don't want to trash talk opposition, if that kind of makes sense. And equally, I don't want them to trash talk me. So when I'm on a soccer field, not that I'm a completely different person, but I want to win. And so if I'm in a space and I'm asking for someone to pass me the ball and they don't even look at me, I can't be like, oh, I guess that's okay. There's like something inbuilt that I'm like, mate, I'm free. Give me the ball. I'm free. You didn't even look. But I don't want to be like that. But I can't be on a soccer field and not do that. Like, when I'm off the soccer field, I'm fine. Like, or if I'm playing like with my kids, I'm like, oh, that's fine. You kick the ball over the fence, no problem. But when I'm playing in a game situation, I want to win, and that kind of changes things slightly. So you've got to read the room, and there's certain times in certain situations where that's fun. Like, I remember like the competitive edge that I would have in a really big soccer game for me, and both teams really wanted to win. I used to quite like that. In England, we'd call it the needle. I used to quite like the needle. I quite like that.
Mm-hmm.
I quite like needling other people, and I'll take it good naturedly, kind of coming back this way as well. So, are you someone that really likes that too? And how did you find? Did you find that balance between the needle and not, or like you're saying there, you maybe took it a little bit too far?
I did eventually. It took me a minute, but I did eventually find a good balance, and I started making more friends than enemies at events, and it was more fun once you start making more friends and people. You show up to a 100-man GT and 35 guys, and they're all like coming up, shaking your hand and saying, hey, when you get there. That's a way better feeling than when you show up to a 12-man event and people are like, oh, Mike's here.
Oh yeah, that guy. It's that guy.
Yeah.
But
that's the Tyranid guy.
But also with competitions, the people are putting themselves into that situation. It's not as if you're dragging in people from the street and saying you must play this game now. People are willingly putting themselves in this environment, and when you willingly put yourself in an environment, you can't necessarily control all of those things. And obviously, it's not about being a douche or being a tool, as you mentioned before. But if something is a competitive tournament, I think there is license there to act in a slightly different way, because that's the intent of the situation, right? Yeah,
there's competitive within reason. You don't, as long as you're not standing at the table telling your opponents like, man, you suck, why'd you play that? That's such a stupid decision. Why'd you do that? Because now I'm going to do this. That can get overwhelming for some people. And some people as with all things, some people have shorter tempers. So if you needle them, the game goes downhill really fast because then they're not having fun. They're grumpy. They're angry.
Yeah.
And I've had guys walk away from the table because I was beating them and they just got so mad because, if it's one-sided, and even if you're not needling them and it's happening to them, they're just like, I'm done with this game. You win,
which is sad in some ways. I mean, it's because it is hard. It is hard. I find it hard with games that I play. I would consider myself more of a narrative player, but there's still situations where I get a little frustrated. It tends to be where there's a rules disagreement. It came up in a game of A Song of Ice and Fire just the other day. Is that in that game you have certain tactics cards that you can play, and they have certain triggers. So it's like when an enemy makes a melee attack, that's a trigger, and then you can play a certain card. And my friend played this card, and it was like when an enemy makes a melee attack, choose 2 friendly infantry units, and then they get a certain buff. And he didn't have 2 infantry units left because he only had 1. And I was like, mate, you can't play that card. And he's like, why not? I was like, well, you can't choose 2 infantry units. And he's like, no, but it says choose. I mean, to choose, it's optional. I was like, no, choose doesn't mean optional. So you think you're naturally going to bump into those little disagreements as you play because the rules are never really truly watertight. And equally with different people, and we have disagreements in different things. And so, when you play with a regular person, like he's a regular friend, we chatted it out. We kind of used a new AI feature on Google, which is really good for rules questions, by the way. If you're not using AI in your games, it's really helpful. We just kind of have Google up on a screen at the side, and you can kind of go and ask AI, and it tells you, and then it also shows you the references. And in A Song of Ice and Fire, it's like a living online rule book, so it accesses the living online rule book, so it kind of goes straight in there and saves a whole bunch of time. So it's easier when you know that person and you're comfortable with them, and it's a little bit more amicable, and it's not a tournament, and you got a little bit more time. Whereas I guess, and I've never played in a 40k tournament because it's never really appealed to me, but I guess when you're on the clock, people might have driven a long way. People really want to win. It kind of elevates the kind of stress level so that when you do have a little disagreement, it potentially spirals a lot quicker because this feels maybe there's a lot more riding on it. It's like, well, I drove 8 hours to get here, and now this, I guess. So did you find that you had to maybe be agony aunt a little bit? Did you ever try and like talk people down, or were you just kind of like, nah, dude, if you want to be like that, that's fine?
I've had a couple games where you talk somebody down, like, hey man, let's just play out. I see you're getting frustrated. I understand. Like, you've had some bad rolls. I've had some hot rolls. Let's just play it out. Let's see what happens. You're not out of the game. You just have to play strategically. Just like let's just ease it in. If the game ends here in a minute, we'll go have a beer. I mean, I think my worst thing ever happened, and this was after I was super competitive. I was still semi-competitive, but I was more in the painting. Yeah. I played a Tau player at a GT in Kansas City, Missouri. So it's 6.5, 7 hour road trip to get there. It was the second day. He went first, and he made a really bad tactical decision, and brought his army very close to mine with his Tau. Mm-hmm. And all his shooting did nothing. Like, it was just all whiffs, or I made all my saves. And I was playing a very heavy Thunderwolf Cav army. So I turn 1 charged with my entire army and tabled him on turn 1. Yeah. And I was like, dude, this is terrible. Let's go to the bar, and for the next 2.5 hours, beers are on me. And so that's what we did. Like we went and we had several beers, and we came back for round 5, and we were both kind of out of the tournament the rest of the day. But it was a good time. Yeah,
but that's cool, man. And that's the thing is that it's, I don't know, it's just an interesting world, isn't it? I mean, and I'm seeing it now as a dad. My daughter is 8, nearly 9.
Oh yeah,
and she's only just stopped. Not really she didn't really get super deep upset, don't get me wrong. So when I say upset, I don't mean like she was like unhappy for the rest of the day. But when she would lose, she would get upset. She'd have a bit of a cry. And I totally get why. So it's a big social thing that you've got to learn how to win well, and you've got to learn how to lose well. And just like, even it's really difficult, because at first she was like upset because you really wanted to win. And then just the other day she cried. And she didn't want to. She's like, I don't want to cry. I was like, oh, it's okay. It was a close game. She's like, but I'm not upset. I don't know why I'm crying right now. And it's like, even now the brain wants to do something else, but the person wants to do something else. It's really strange. So it's no wonder. It's no wonder people get those little kind of grumps on and things like that, because you know, it comes from a place of care, which is really good. I always say this at work when people are angry and people say, oh, what's the matter with that guy? He's really angry. I was like, you got to remember that emotion, it stems from care, and we don't want that care to go away. You don't want to go to a tournament and no one care, because then you won't have fun. You want it to mean something. You want to have a certain level of care. You just got to be mindful about what level that care comes out at, right, and how that care comes out.
Exactly. Yeah. No, and I'm a mean dad. I've been told by a bunch of my relatives and my wife and people that I'm a mean dad because I don't let my kids beat me at games. I make them play and learn the game, and that way when they actually do beat me, they've earned it. They've learned the strategy and how to do things. Yeah. Like I don't, and maybe I'm too competitive with them, because even when it comes to things like, you know, Candyland, I'm not going to let you beat me. Like, you're going to have to play and beat me.
Yeah. I'm like halfway there. Like I kind of see it as like a competitive tap. Yeah. And so it's like I'll just kind of turn it off and on based on how they're doing. Like we're super into Battle of Hoth right now, which is a kind of have you ever heard of the Command and Colors games? It's like a family of games. You probably heard of Memoir 44. Probably, I would think.
I have heard of Memoir 44. Yeah.
So Memoir 44 is part of this Command and Colors kind of rule set. There's a lot of similar games that use the same rule set, and so Battle of Hoth is like a Star Wars version of that. And so we're super into that at the moment, and she's getting really good, and you're starting to see her make tactical decisions, and I don't want to ever to really tell her what to do. I can kind of see her sort of making some mistakes, but I kind of see it as a tap turning on and off. It's like if I see her making a few mistakes, I'll be like, I'll just ignore that unit that I could destroy, and I'll go over here and do something else. But I think,
well, you give them a chance, but when they get cocky, like that was my son's thing.
Yeah, exactly.
He used to get real cocky. I'd be playing and I'd be being really nice, giving him a chance. Like, I'm not going to kill your dreadnought. I'll let it keep playing around. And they starts getting cocky, and you're like, all right, I can't have you talking smack to me, you little 12-year-old.
But that's the cool thing about being a parent, is you kind of see that stuff, and so it's hopefully you're putting those things in place so they're not going to be that guy at a tournament. So if they ever do decide to go to a tournament, they're able to cope with it really well, because it's an annoying situation, isn't it? I remember being that as a kid myself. It was usually my older brother, is that he's got a stranglehold, a metaphorical stranglehold over you. So it's like, even if I do my best, I'm not going to win anyway, and that is a annoying situation to be in, right? Where it's like, like we were playing chess or whatever, right? It's like, even if I do everything right here, I just got no chance at all. So persevering and trying to drag something out of it is really important, instead of just checking out, you know, especially in this era that we live, where it's so easy just to kind of, you know, gas out of pretty much anything, right? You know, getting that perseverance to hang in there and be a good loser even though you got nothing, just try and figure out what little win you can get out of the whole terrible situation.
You just keep working at it.
But I would say, like, learning that as a kid, it's kind of helped me out a lot, because I dig in, I don't gas out, I kind of keep in there. But anyway, cool. So is there anything else you'd like to mention about playing tournaments before we kind of move on to other 40k stuff?
I would just suggest, like, for everyone to at least try one tournament. You may not go in to win, but I guarantee you'll make a friend. I can't think of any event that I've ever been to where I didn't meet at least one person that I was like, this is a cool dude. We're going to keep in touch. Yeah. And, you know, even if you don't talk to them all the time, just once a year, that's somebody that you met that has the same interest and hobby as you. And, you know, I had a guy call me last year that I hadn't seen in 5 or 6 years. He's like, hey, I'm going to be in Oklahoma City. You want to meet up and grab a drink? I was like, yeah, dude. Yeah. Name, place, and time. Tell me when you'll be here, and let's go. You know.
For me as well, like, one of the final things that I want to mention is, you mentioned friends there, is that I would class myself to be a super competitive player, but I'm interested in games, right? And so the games that I play seriously, what I really have liked is that I've made friends that I can chat to the game about. So we talk about lists, we talk about combos, and I don't like to do that online. I don't like to go onto Reddit. I don't like to go onto online.
Oh, I don't either.
And talk about lists, because I don't really get much from that. So I like to come up with a list or come up with some ideas, and then I share it with like a trusted and respected friend, and I'll be like, hey man, like here's my list. I'm thinking that I want to do this. I'm thinking that this is a kind of idea, and I'm thinking about maybe avoiding that. And just having those kind of like respected and trusted friends that are like, yeah, man, that's quite good, or maybe I'd switch this guy out for that.
Yeah,
that's a whole other level of hobby which I really enjoy, because it's like just an opportunity to talk to your buddy, and it's like an opportunity to share ideas, which I really like. And I much prefer doing that on a personal level. I get nothing from doing that online, right?
No, yeah, I've got a stack of messenger chats with all different friend groups of different aspects of the hobby and painting. Like, these are the guys I talk to about painting. These are the guys I talk to about, playing. If I got a conversion question, I go talk to these guys, and we'll still, send stupid memes and stuff in the chats throughout the week and whatever anyways. But yeah, like I don't do a lot of talking online and, on Facebook or anything about like lists or whatnot. I do my TikTok and stuff. I do the live painting and everything on there, and I'll talk to people in that, but I don't post a whole lot other than like, here's what I'm doing in the hobby. I'm not really asking anybody's questions,
That's cool, man. Right, so you kind of got into 40k more for the tournament scene, but
yes,
you mentioned sci-fi earlier in the conversation. So before we kind of talk about 40k lore and the sci-fi situation, have you always been a sci-fi fan? Are you a big sci-fi guy, or was it sci-fi first step before it was 40k?
Like sci-fi and fantasy have always been like, I've always kind of been drawn to those fantasy elements of things, like fantasy and sci-fi and traditional fantasy, stuff like that. I've always, growing up, I was always reading different fantasy books, like the old choose your own adventure books.
Oh, man,
God, I loved those when I was a little kid. And stuff like that, and Dungeons and Dragons, like that's a lot of us. That's our first step into these gaming type things. Was you had a buddy that got some books and some dice, and he's like, "Hey, come play D&D at my house," And so that kind of just, I've always been drawn towards that, and I don't know. It's just the old Starship Troopers, Star Wars, all the especially the Lord of the Rings movies. They came out when I was a grown up, and I was like, oh my god, these are amazing. Just so much. Even like the old movies. Conan and Red Sonja and Gruul. Even just a lot of those old ones that you're scrolling through the cable late at night. And you're like, ooh, what's this? That guy has a sword. Let's watch this movie.
So how was it getting into 40k lore then? Like, because obviously you probably saw the Battle Mocrad box, you looked at the rule book, and it's got a whole bunch of lore in it. So did you just kind of pass that by, or were you super invested in the lore from an early stage?
I'd say for like the first year in the hobby, I kind of ignored the lore. We used to call it fluff, kind of pick on the people that were super into the lore.
Yeah, fluff.
And then I picked up the first 3 Horus Heresy novels, and I read through them in probably about 2 weeks. Like, I just burned through them like they were nothing. I was like, okay, I get it. I'm a fluff guy now. Like, I need to, but we're gonna call it the lore, and I'm gonna correct people when they tell me fluff because it's lore, And I read almost the entire Horus Heresy series as it was coming out. I think I'm like 15 books shy of finishing it.
Nice. I read probably first seven, I think, and they really did hook me. Where the fractures in the Imperium started to occur, and I can't. What's the name of the main bad guy? The main bad kind of got injured, and like, is he okay?
Horus, Horus getting stabbed with the fancy sword.
Yeah. It's like you went to this temple, and it's like, is he going to be okay? Is he not going to be okay? That was really cool, man. When he first started to hear like the little whispers of chaos, like that was really interesting. I can't tell you why I stopped reading them, to be honest. I think I just moved on to other.
They just draw you in. I've read a lot of Black Library, a lot. I actually have so many books I started getting rid of them because it's like, I'm probably only going to read most books once or twice.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of reason to just keep it on a shelf when there might be somebody else out there that wants it to read. So, but yeah, I've read them. Like the Inquisition books, those are probably my favorite characters. The Eisenhorn and Ravner and Beckwin Chronicles. And
What would be some cool highlights that came from the lore? So when you first, because I mean that's all in, you know, there's one thing kind of reading a fluff in a rule book, and then there's another thing completely, which is buying Black Library books, right? So what would be some kind of like highlights of the 40k lore, stuff that makes you really excited or interested?
So I don't remember what book it in, but the scene, I see this scene in my head from one of the novels. It's a Tyranid invasion on a planet. There's some Ultramarines. There's a human planetary defense force. And an Ultramarine shoved a guard out of the way and charged this Carnifex that was like trying to break through a wall section. And the Marines just getting, shoved up against a wall. The Talons are digging into his armor. And this guardsman finds a missile launcher and like sits up enough to shoot it off into the Carnifex.
Yeah.
And this Ultramarine comes and grabs him and like stops the entire battle. Like he's not fighting the battle anymore. He picks up this guardsman and takes him to the healing area where the sisters are taking care of people, and they're like, make sure this guy lives. And then he runs off back to the battle. It's like, oh man, like Space Marines don't care. And this Space Marine, like, he was like, that dude just saved my bacon. I'm making sure that I'm going to do what I can to make sure that he's okay,
Yeah, that's cool.
And that's just like that picture. I can play it out in my mind just from reading it probably 15 years ago, and it still sticks with me. And then a lot of it, like the Eisenhorn series where, Ravner is still not in his box, and they're at the big celebration, and the Chaos people knock down the tower, and it catches Ravner, and he like catches on fire, and Eisenhorn's chasing people down to try and put down the rebellion and stuff. And there's just like all these moments of these books, when John Grammaticus puts the Fulgurite in Vulcan's heart, these individual moments that you could just, as you're reading them, like you could just see this whole picture in your mind, and it just draws you in. Like the lore is so good.
It's cool, isn't it? It's like the level of effort that's been put in over a number of years by a vast amount of people.
Oh yeah,
it's pretty amazing. I think you'd struggle to find another hobby company that's invested so much time and effort into the world. It's pretty impressive.
100% agree. Like they have done such a good job with the books, and you find the individual characters that you like, and you want to follow them, so you find out what other novels they're in just so you can read about this one character here and there, and
it's the way that a lot of people that play don't even know, and a lot of people that only read don't even really know about the playing. It's like it's kind of crazy. It's like the hobby is so wide that I can be standing on this end reading the Black Library, and you can be standing on that end just playing, and we don't ever really cross. And yet you can be standing in the middle playing and reading the lore, and it's just like this is the greatest thing ever, right? Because the lore is
well, and you just you just run into people by complete chance, and you'll say something that, like, you're not really thinking about it because it's like an inside joke with you and your Warhammer buddies, but you say it out in a public group, and somebody's like, hey, I didn't know you knew about this, and you're like, oh yeah, I didn't know you knew about that either. Like I stopped to buy fried chicken on my way home tonight, and I always go into the place to pick it up, and the kid behind the counter, he's like, dude, is that an Inquisition symbol? I was like, yeah man. He's like, I was like, you play? He's like, yeah man, I just got into it. And he's like probably 17-year-old kid talking to much older grown man about the same hobby.
That's really cool, man. So like lore stuff is really interesting. So it's kind of evolving in Games Workshop right now, where they're starting to kind of think of movies, and obviously with Warhammer Plus, I think it was called, which is like a kind of streaming service. Are you into that? Did you get into that, or because I remember watching Lord of the Rings, and I love Lord of the Rings. It's fantastic, but I remember being a little bit put out that Frodo was doing stuff that I didn't think Frodo should do, which is totally on me, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that I could do a better job of portraying someone on screen, but I remember thinking that I don't know if Frodo would do that when I watched it in a movie, because I'd read the books and sort of made my own relationship with them. So are you kind of excited about the stuff that already exists and the things that will exist in terms of like, the visual things? I'm
very excited about what's coming. I mean, Henry Cavill, our Lord and Savior of Warhammer 40K, most famous 40K person in the world, probably,
Yeah.
But but I mean, I'm excited for some of the movies and stuff coming out. You know, there was the what was it, Hidden Levels? Did the Space Marine short was so good. I didn't get into the Warhammer TV stuff. I'm still kind of waiting. There's just not that much content. There just wasn't enough content for me to justify doing a monthly subscription to it. And maybe there is now. Maybe it's something I could go back and look at. And I've seen most of that stuff has been bootlegged other places, so I've still seen a lot of it.
Right.
But I'm really excited to see where they go with stuff. You know, everything. The hobby's getting bigger. It's getting more well known to even average people. Tournaments are getting so big. I mean, they just finished Adepticon here in the States, and I think they had 450 players in just the 40K championship. But there was over 2,000 players between all the different 40K events they had.
That's crazy. Like crazy good, like it's crazy.
Like crazy good. I mean, I want to say they had 6 different 40K events, and then on top of that, they still had, you know, Age of Sigmar, Old World, Necromunda, Blood Bowl, like all this stuff. Like, if you ever get a chance to go to Adepticon, take it. Like, it's probably the most amazing 40K experience, like just miniatures in general experience you can have.
Well, I was going to mention that before when we were talking about tournaments, and, you know, having been fortunate enough to have lived in America and gone to tournaments there as an observer just to watch, and gone to tournaments in the UK, they're very different. They're very, very different. Neither is better or worse, but they're very, very different. And if you ever get an opportunity to visit the UK to go to Games Tournament, I'd encourage you to go just to see the difference in it.
Oh, I'd love to.
And if there's people in Europe or the UK that are listening that have the opportunity to, I don't know, be on vacation in America and get the opportunity to even just drop in, it's worthwhile because it's really, really different.
I'd love to.
The way that people talk, the way that people move, the way that people interact, it's very different.
Yeah. Well, and I have, you know, thanks to all these different social medias now, I have several friends over in Scotland, Ireland, UK, like all these places around the world now that, you know, I talk to on a pretty regular basis. So
nice.
Like, I'd love to make it over there sometime and, you know, maybe bring an army and get to hang out and play some games and stuff like that. Like, that'd be an amazing experience.
That'd be really, really cool. So anything kind of lore-wise that you maybe picked out Tyranids, right? So you picked out Tyranids as your army, but then when you start talking about lore and obviously the Black Library, the majority of that is centered around the kind of, you know, the
there's not a lot of Tyranid lore.
Yeah. So how was that for you? Because you mentioned not being too interested in the Ultramarines from when you first started out. So what kept you interested in, you know, the Black Library stuff when it's mostly focused around the Imperium?
Yeah, it is. It's mostly focused around the Imperium. And I kind of, you know, as I read more, I kind of got more into it and everything. And I did eventually play Space Marine Army. I had an Iron Hands Army for a short while. I played Dark Angels for a short while. I got heavily into Space Wolves in 5th and 6th edition, so I had a big Space Wolves army, and I love all the Space Wolf lore. Like, those are probably some of my favorite books I've ever read. Okay. You know, just on Ragnar Blackmane, there's 6 novels. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of really cool stuff, and you just kind of get more and more into it. And then it's like I read about Custodes for the first time. I was like, oh my God, these guys are amazing. They're the coolest guys ever. I wish there was an army for them. And then, you know, maybe a couple years later, it's like, oh, look, we got an army.
They were listening.
You know? Yeah. And like Mechanicus, I remember reading the first books that had those guys in them. And I was like, oh man, that's so cool. And then they came out with the army. And I was super excited. And then I get the Skitarii models and I'm like, oh, these aren't the Skitarii from the books. The Skitarii from the books are, you know, 7-foot tall murder machines full of blades and teeth and lasers. And these are just dudes with metal legs and guns. But, you know, I can suspend that disbelief because the models were still nice. They just weren't what I was picturing in the lore. The Custodes, however, exactly what I pictured from the lore.
That's cool. That's really, really good. And so, kind of as we begin to wrap up the chat, we're into our pretty much our hour, which is crazy. The kind of chat conversation has rattled by. Let's talk about is there anything else that you really enjoy? We talked about lore there for a while. We've talked about competitive play. You've talked about like how you've really enjoyed models. Is there any sort of areas you'd like to discuss before we run out of time?
I mean, just painting. That's where I'm at in my kind of hobby life now. Is I don't play nearly as much. I get out to play Warhammer maybe once or twice a year. Actually, not long ago, I had some guys message me and they're like, "Hey, we need a fifth for a team tournament," and I was like, I haven't even read the 10th edition rules. They're like, "That's okay. We'll get you a game the night before the event. You'll be fine." And so I played one practice game, and I took my Imperial Knights to a 5-man, team event, and I ended up winning a game. I was surprised. I went 1-2 on the day, but it was fun. I had a good time, but I got throttled. There were some nasty, like those team events. Those guys are playing around even less than like singles events. Oh my God, they were gross.
How is it like?
But,
how is it like with the shoe being on the other foot?
It was
being stumped.
Luckily, every single person I played with was like, "Oh my God, your army is so beautiful, and like those models are amazing." So it was, it was like a kind of a beating sandwich of them, killing my models and telling me they were beautiful, and then killing more models.
I'm so sorry, but you have to take that off the table now.
Yeah. Like, it was still good. Like, I still had a lot of fun because I'm at the point where I don't care if I win or lose. I'm just there to roll dice and have a good time. And as long as my opponent is fun to play, like, I don't care if they beat me to a pulp. Like, they can table me and I'll still have a good time.
Yeah.
Because that's where I'm at now. Is if I'm playing, I'm just doing it for fun. I paint. That's what I do now. Is I paint all the time. Most of it's not even for me. I usually take a 2-week break every year, and I'll paint myself like an Imperial Knight or two to add to my army, and then I go back to other people's stuff.
Oh, that's cool, man. How do you find kind of general mechanics and structure of the game? Is it a game that you enjoy playing?
Yeah, I think the mechanics are solid right now. I think that there's some things that are very heavily unbalanced for certain armies. I believe when they said they were doing 10th edition, they were getting rid of a lot of the rerolls and things like that. But when I played against Necrons and Space Marines, they rerolled almost every single wound and hit. So luckily I played Knights, so I was able to use a command point dice to reroll one thing a turn. So that made it fair, I think.
Yeah. But it's hard. Like, one thing that's important to note is that a lot of people talk about balance, but if you think about something that's just that big, it's really hard to balance, right? It's
it really is. It's hard to balance it. I wish that they would, if they're going to do a bunch of rerolls, then every army should have access to ways to get those rerolls. Just to keep it at least a fairly even playing field. It's because it's really not a fun game when your opponent's like, "Okay, all my guys hit on 2s, I reroll 1s, and then I wound on 3s, and I reroll 1s again."
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, that's really good. Yeah. And they're like, "Okay, what are your special rules?" I'm like, I have a 5-up invulnerable shooting standard, and I can command point reroll.
Yeah.
It's like, so go ahead, fire, whatever. But it's still fun. Like, you still have fun even when you're getting your teeth kicked in. You can still have a good time with
it. That's cool, man. Well, yeah, we kind of gone through a whole trajectory there, man. A whole arc. Is there anything else you'd like to mention before we begin to wrap up?
Not a lot, unless I can mention my studio.
Yeah, go ahead, Jeff. Sure.
Okay, so my studio is on mic. My studio is Beard and Brush. I do live painting on TikTok, and I'm always open. I'm on all the social medias, so anytime people have hobby questions, I see it as anybody that does painting for other people. I see it as our job to be teachers as well as painters. So my DMs are always open if people have questions about painting or hobbying or anything like that. You're always free to shoot me a message.
Nice. Well, that's cool, man. That's really cool. Thanks a lot for your time. We really appreciate it. It's been great talking.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. It was a good time.
Yeah, and people kind of get grumpy about the modern era and all that kind of stuff. But, we wouldn't have had the opportunity to meet. We'd never spoken before today. We'd never really met each other before today. So it's just great to be able to speak to someone that lives so far away from me, then just kind of have a great chat about the hobby. So thank you, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Oh, sure. Anytime, bud. Anytime. Like, this is fun for me. I love doing this. I love meeting new people. I love getting to talk to people about the hobby. So I'm all for it.
Cool. All right. Well, take it easy. Have a great weekend, and we'll speak to you again soon.
All right. Take care, brother. We'll see you later.
So there you go, episode 284 all wrapped up there. Thanks once again and one final time to Mike for coming on to the show. Really, really cool to chat to him from Oklahoma, no less. That's always one of the states that I think I'd like to go and live. I think if you had to choose a state to live in, I purposely wouldn't choose one that loads of people would know of and loads of people would live, or one of the more popular ones. I think I'd purposely target one of the smaller ones because there'd be less bother. I think things would be a lot cheaper. Probably going to meet more nicer and genuine people. Like, nothing against New York or nothing against like Los Angeles or anything like that, but I probably wouldn't want to go and live there. I'd go visit them, but I wouldn't want to live there because I think it'd be a bit expensive. Quite a lot of grifters, quite a lot of people that maybe aren't that nice. So I go and live in Oklahoma. I think everyone's going to be a little bit nicer. Stuff's going to be a little bit cheaper. I don't know. Let me know on the Discord. What state would you go and live in? Probably Oklahoma would be a shout. Maine, don't know. Yeah, what state would you go and live in and why? That'd be cool. Anyway, what's been going on with me hobby-wise? I've been in a pretty good place with my painting. I stopped painting for that fella, finished the mega batch, so I've been kind of painting for me myself. So that's been pretty good. I finished the Tully Cavaliers. I'd pretty much finished all of the painting on those. There was just a few bits to do, and basing, so I did that, and I rounded out a unit of Karstark Spearmen, which were pretty cool and fairly straightforward to do. I did the eyes badly. They all look pretty shocked and worried about the whole situation, which I kind of liked. It's I think how I would be if I was in a medieval or low fantasy battle, just a bit shocked, a bit like, oh, I wasn't really expecting it to be like this. So that was I left the eyes. You know, when you do an eye, but it's really important that the pupil takes up the whole middle section of the eye, so there's no kind of like white bit around the outside. I forgot that, so there's kind of like quite a lot of wide-eyed shocked faces, but they actually look okay, and it's a moment in time, so I just kind of left those. I kind of did finish them, and some of them are okay, some of them are actually all right, but there's a few of them that have got like just a dot in the middle of the eye with the right white surrounding it, and it just makes the whole model look very, very different. It's weird, that, isn't it, how just the eyeball, the painted eyeball can change the whole complexion of someone's face, and it changes what they might be thinking. It goes from quite a mean snarl to a kind of a wimpy wimpy shriek. So that's kind of cool. So I finished those off, and I'm in the process, probably about 70%. Yeah, I'm looking at them now, about 70% through. I'm doing a unit of Greyjoys, House Greyjoy, Silenced Men. So if you're not down with A Song of Ice and Fire, the Silenced Men are kind of like these big, heavy executioners, axes, long flowing cloaks, and the Silenced Men, so they've had their tongues cut out. I think they have their tongues cut out. So they've got this kind of metal face mask with like a chainmail kind of, what would it be, like a chainmail kind of covering underneath that kind of flops around a little bit. So yeah, I'm painting those guys, they're pretty cool. I painted a unit of them before, but for somebody else, so I'm kind of going painting up those ones, and doing it for yourself is obviously a lot different. So yeah, that'll be me. And then after, I'm not sure I'm going to paint after those guys. Probably another unit of Greyjoys, probably. I'm not sure, but it's exciting and interesting to just to have the opportunity to just paint whatever you want, which is not something I had for a while. But anyway, I hope that you guys are doing okay. Make sure you swing by the Paint All the Minis Discord server if you're not already a member, to say hello and show us what you're up to. We've had quite a few new members over the last couple of weeks, which have been really, really nice, and it's always nice to see new people. You know, it's always really great to kind of meet some different people, and they don't always stick around, which is totally natural and totally normal. But yeah, if you're looking to connect with some people, make sure you swing by the Discord server and come and say hello. And if you're listening along, if you're a post-Ramble, you haven't checked in on the Discord server for a while, make sure that you do, because we miss you and we want to hang out with you, and we want to share your hobby. War Chest League is just rounding off. I've been stepping in for Snowman Dan. Snowman Dan had to take a little bit of time off, and I filled in for him in the War Chest League. I think he'd lost 2 and won 1. when I took over, and now he's won 2 and lost 7, I think. So that's been fun, just kind of losing on someone else's watch, so you don't have to take any of the responsibility. Well, the War Chest League's rounding out, so if you're into kind of playing games online, make sure again you swing by and kind of register your interest. We're not sure what we're going to play next, but it's probably going to be something. And there's a whole bunch of other stuff that goes on. We have the monthly painting competition, monthly painting activity thing that'll just start getting going again. Now Dan's back in town, and also we are very malleable and open to suggestions. So if there's something that you want to put together for the hobby group that you think would be pretty cool, come and do it. We're only limited by the effort and the enthusiasm that each and every person shows. So if there's something that you want to do, swing by. We'd love to support it, and we'd love to get it going. And I'm sure there's a group of people that would be interested in it too. But anyway, that's enough of the post ramble. Off out tonight. One Kid A is on a play date / sleepover, so we're going to take Kid B out for some dinner and generally hang out. But yeah, take it easy. Hope you guys are all good. Until next time we're together, keep painting.